Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I am your ever-loving host, Shorty, and today we are delving back into the Vault Nightfall imprint with Door to Door, Night by Night. And unusually, this is going to be one where I'm a little bit more critical of Vault comics, particularly a horror one. And I don't want people to think that this is me now, just I've had enough of Vault and I've had enough of horror. I am also reading the horror anthology one at the moment, which I'm absolutely loving. I forgot what that's called in my head, but it's a nice double feature, and it's brilliant. The problem is I got my copy a couple weeks later. It feels weird to review it now. It's been out for a while. But what is new is this one by Cullen Bunn and Sally Canturino. And unfortunately, for the stuff I do like about it, it doesn't feel like the stuff I like is what they're wanting to do. It reminds me a little bit of reviewing the Blade comic book from yesterday, which is just this really nice idea that wasn't properly explored. So for this one, we're going to have to get into a little bit about what the story's about for it to make sense, because we are dealing with a hitchhiker who's picked up by a group of people who she imagines to be a cult or a church group, but turns out to be door-to-door salespeople, making money for a charity by selling photos at a studio where effectively they go to the studio and then get tried to be upsold. So it's basically making money, making a living, potentially keeping a business afloat, all good stuff, but the people who are engaged in it are all kind of a bit weird and losers and outcasts, and they've got unusual backstories, and very good reasons why they're doing this instead of like a real job. And here we hit my first stumbling block, because there's some brilliant little ideas for characters in here. They're really well drawn on the page, and I genuinely want to know more about them, much in the way I want to know more about what it would be like to live in the vampire state in yesterday's review. I think that just a couple of throwaway lines are intriguing. They're certainly going to make me want to come back for more, but unfortunately it doesn't make this first issue something that really grabs hold of me. Now, it's not to say we're not going to get some more of this. I genuinely think we will, because at the end of the comic book, once the plot device happens, it doesn't feel like we're going to follow what I thought would be the main character in the story. It feels like the actual point of it is to keep going with these door-to-door salespeople. And that's because this main character, the hitchhiker who gets picked up, we feel like she has an unusual past, and it's not exactly subtle at this point. Cullen Bunn does lay it on a little bit thick for me, with her back and stuff covered in absolute scars when we see her. She's sharing a crappy motel room, should I say, with another one of the door-to-door people, and he's like, oh yeah, were you in the army? And it's like, yeah, something like that. And we get flashbacks with the baby, and it's all like really over the top red colouring, and panicked faces and screaming, and she seems to notice that there's something unusual, a house which nobody goes into, and after some pretty decent, like, character-driven things with conversations about their histories and why they do what they do, she goes off on her own to go and fight a demon. Yeah, just as the demon turns up, it was in the house and it's been kidnapping and eating children, and it's just like, yeah, cool. I like that sudden jump. I think that is a good move to do. Don't build up to it. I think it was more effective just to suddenly be like, holy crap, this isn't her being worried about what's going on. This isn't some subtle creeping horror. This is literally a giant demon who is eating children, and I love him down for that. I'd sometimes prefer a nice creeping horror. I mean, go and read Autumnal if you want that kind of thing. It's one of my favourite horror stories right now. But this one, it goes all in, and I think it's a good idea. But then we do hit my other big problem, because Sally Canturino's artwork is fantastic for very human stories. She has an absolutely amazing knack for building up a world in background, and each character feels 100% individual. There is not even a hint of copy and paste to her art style. It feels like even individual drawings of the people are so much time and effort put into them to make sure that the lighting is correct, and the way they're facing, you get the right angles for everything. Little choices in costume design. There's nothing bad about the people in the story that she draws, but her style doesn't necessarily lend itself to scary monster. The monster isn't scary. This huge demon with bleeding nipples and hairy armpit tentacles and a weird face and wings and bloated sack of a stomach. All these things should be great and terrifying, but Canturino's art style just makes me think, oh look, a demon. Cool. There's no fear, not even a hint of it for me in this one. In fact, there's even like a vaguely comical bit that happens where a knife is thrown to somebody and actually goes straight through the hand instead of catching it. And I think maybe that could have been slightly better handled to be stressful. But in the end, I'm just like, duh. that's not the way you want to be approaching things for a horror comic book. And Cullen Bunn can do good horror, but he hasn't done good horror here. And Katarina can do great artwork, and she has done brilliant monsters. Human Moraine she did with Milligan, I think. The monsters in that were fantastic because they were deliberately otherworldly and weird and creepy, and her style definitely goes into a more weird and creepy rather than just big scary demon. And unfortunately, it's just a little bit of a miss. Just far enough away from what I wanted that I don't enjoy it, and I've seen some stuff come closer to it, and at least intrigued me to make me want to carry on with it. Sadly for this one, not to be the case, and I don't like saying that because you know, if you've watched this for these videos for now, I love Vault Comics, and I like Cullen Bunn, I like Sally Cantorino. Just the three people working together in this situation didn't quite work for me. That is it from me for now. I'll be back tomorrow with another review, though, so if you don't want to miss out on any of those, make sure you hit the subscribe button. But until I see you again, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.